afternoon, g'day, good morning, how's it going? This is Roger Roadside saying hello. Listen, this is just a bit of a thought experiment. I think it's just a thought that's crossed my mind, obviously with everything that's happening in the UK at the moment, everything that's happening around the world really. There seems a lot of variations with regards to politics, and I think I've made my stance very clear on when it comes to politics. I don't particularly believe that out of all the politicians out there that there's too many really good ones. I kind of feel like politicians are basically just people who are just in it for themselves and severely unqualified. If you look at the UK government and the UK politics and stuff like that, to have so many people running the country, in charge of the country, that have not even run a business or been a part of a big business. I mean, that just to me is just massive red flags. And then you've also got people who are in departments or looking after certain sectors of society, and they've just got basically no experience within those sectors. So it's just kind of like, what's the point? And I just don't really understand how we as a society, as a race of, surely we must be some, I know that there's a lot of sort of things that go around saying that that the general public are just it's like the blind leading the blind, and I've definitely seen a few half-drop kebabs walking around, and some. It's quite easy to see a few low IQ specimens of people out in society, but collectively, how have we just had the wool pulled over our eyes for so many years in regards to politicians and how they work, and what their real motivations are? I don't know. It kind of feels like we just become resigned to the fact that used car salesmen are going to be liars, that tradies are always going to wear shorts and have their butt crack showing, and politicians are just going to tell us what we want to hear, but at the end of the day they're going to be in it for themselves and greasing their own palms, and it just becomes, well, that's just accepted. And it just frustrates me really, and I kind of, as I said, I don't particularly think either political party, especially within the UK, are as good or as bad as the other, and I don't particularly think either one of them would be able to do a better job. So I guess then that led me to the thought of, well, what if there was if I could just snap a party into power and create a party from scratch, what would be like the top 5 things that I'd want there to be some fairly stringent and focused on policies or things that they stood for or fought for, and I guess for me, and again I'm just sort of thinking this off the top of my head, it's not like I've sat down in my bedroom whilst mum makes me a cheese sandwich and really planned out this video, but I guess for me, the top things that are important to me, especially at this stage of my life, is immigration. I think immigration, regardless of what country I was living in, whether it be the UK, whether it be the Bahamas, whether it be I know Bahamas is not a country, but whether it be Jamaica, whether it be China, whether it be the US, for me, immigration would be something that I think would need to be a key policy, and there need to be some sort of key stipulations that yes, a certain amount of people who qualify, via some sort of method, should be allowed into the country to either assist with work, get studies. I think diversity in some respects is important, but I think then there needs to also be a clear pathway in regards to exactly how long people stay, when that date comes up, how is it enforced that they're that it's ensured that they've left, how is it how do we follow that up, this, that and the other. So long story short, I think immigration is necessary, but I think there needs to be a really strong commitment to how it works and what it looks like, and there needs to be policing of it. In regards to long-term immigration, as in, is there a path for people to become a citizen of this country or my country that we're talking about, then I think it would be helpful, but I think it needs to be monitored and it needs to be continually addressed. I don't agree with the way that it is in the UK, where once you've got your indefinite leave to remain, then that's it. You just, by hook or by crook, you're basically now a British citizen. So there's that. There, I think. So that's number one. Security, but without being overly obsessive with regards to defence. So what I mean by that is, there definitely needs to be a strong presence, a strong force, a strong army or defence network, so that it obviously lessens the chance of anyone taking advantage of the country. But I don't agree that it needs to be. I don't agree that multi hundreds of billions of pounds or dollars or whatever needs to go into something like that, because I think you could quite easily create a bit of a black hole of spending, and I think ultimately I'd like to think that barring a few nut job cultures, I'd like to think that we live in a day and age now where it's no longer what it was 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 500 years ago. We were all quite territorial and raping and pillaging and all the amount of fighting and the bloodshed and stuff like that from that period of time is predominantly all but gone. And like I said, besides a few nut jobs, I'd like to think that for the whole, the world is quite a peaceful world. So I don't, necessarily believe in, going too overboard with defence. But I think you obviously need to have a clear and focused dedication to it. So yeah, you definitely need defence, and I guess as a subset of that, defence of your own borders is, if you're in a country like the UK where it's surrounded by sea, having, even if you're in a country that's landlocked, having a good defence of your borders, I think is massively important. And then business tax. I think there needs to be an avenue for the government to raise funds, but I don't think it should be at the expense of hard-working people. I don't think it should be at the expense of people who are trying to make a success of their lives. I feel like with the UK, the tax system is so stuffed. It basically just doesn't really motivate anyone to do better or be better, because the better you are, or the more qualified you are, or the better position you get into, or if you wanted some extra cash and you were happy to make this sacrifice of making yourself available to do that extra work, you just get taxed through the a-hole, and it just becomes not worth it. So that sort of system whereby the more you work, the more you get taxed, I think is a wrong system. I would like to see some sort of clearer system in place, and for it not to be as restrictive as what the current tax system is. And lastly, I'll finish it off with one more, just to say from this going on from a 30-minute video. But and look, there'd be other things that I think would be important, but these are my top four things. No benefits other than disabilities or those in dire need. So what I mean by that is, I don't understand why in the UK, and look, maybe you could get it back at home in Oz. I never really saw much of it. Maybe there was, there must have been, I don't know. It just never really was a prominent thing when I was growing up, that, you know, benefits or you know, we call it the dole back at home in Australia. Going on the dole was like a last resort, and it was like something that you wouldn't, it was a bit of a stigma. You wouldn't want to be on the dole and then catch up with your mates, and, you know, for them to know that you're on the dole, it'd be quite embarrassing. So that the whole fact that, you know, benefits existed. Yeah, okay, look, there's times where people fall on hard times, and, you know, there needs to be some sort of avenue for the government or for society to help lift those people back up. Obviously, there are some people that are brought into this world that don't have the fortunes that we have, not necessarily just financially, but, you know, whether it be the ability to see, the ability to hear, the ability to talk, the ability to move, so on and so forth. You know, there are some things that people just get born into the world and or via an accident, you know, really restricts their ability to, you know, earn an income. So in those respects, 100%. But I just wouldn't be giving away so much. I wouldn't be giving away half as much as what the British government does. I think there needs to be a line drawn to say, listen, first and foremost, you're supposed to work. If you want money, you've got to work for it. And, you know, if you can't work for it, if there's something stopping you from doing it, whether it's a disability or something along those lines, then okay, tell us your case, and we'll make a decision on whether or not you can, you know, get some sort of wage. And then let's also work with you to see, you know, perhaps what other things you could do that will earn a little bit of cash for you, so that you don't have to just rely on us. That would be the process I would take. But look, if it's a case that it's just, you know, really small things, and you know, this whole free housing stuff, again, unless you're absolutely incapacitated, I don't see why you get given free houses, or you get given paid money because you have kids. I mean, if you're poor and then you can't afford kids, then don't have kids. It's not, you know, wait until you can afford to have kids. You know, get your life in order, get things on, you know, if you've got some sort of addiction or something, get that sorted, get yourself cleaned up, get into work, get yourself a nice place, then have a kid. But this whole system of, oh, it's all right, we can just go out and we can get plastered on a Friday night, a Saturday night, doesn't matter, and then, you know, just have a baby, and then I'll get some more money every month, and then, you know, we'll have a little kid, fuck it, we'll just give him some Cheerios or some cereal or something like that, and then we'll pocket the rest of the money and we'll use that on our Friday, Saturday night drink sessions. You know, it's just, and look, I know that not everyone who takes benefits or accepts benefits, I know they don't all take advantage of it. I preface all that by saying that there are people that specifically deserve benefits, but the problem with having such a loose benefit system is you get situations like we saw the other day, and with the video we released the other day, there was £54 million have been siphoned out of this country via the benefit system, and that was just by one group, one entity. You know, it beggars belief to think about the amount of people out there that are taking the piss. That, you know, for every pound each hour that you earn, and how much of it goes over towards tax, and then how much of that goes over fraudulently to someone else, either claiming to be too sick or basically claiming to be someone that they're not, or, you know, popping out kids because it just means more money in their back pockets. It's just sickening. And I, you know, if I could have the perfect governmental party, it would be one where there was a tighter rein on benefits. And again, it's not to say that those who desperately need benefits or are incapable wouldn't get looked after. It's more the fact that a tighter structure or system would hopefully safeguard from money being wasted, money being taken advantage of by slimy, cunty people. And, you know, so that's just my top 4. Listen, I'd just be keen to get your thoughts. What if you were going to magic up a party, you know, not like a dush, hey, you know, everyone bring your own chips and dips, you know, sort of party. Obviously, like a governmental party. If you're going to magic up a governmental party, what would be the key things, the key policies that would be important to you? I'm just interested to hear, you know, whether or not, you know, people align with that line of thinking, or, you know, maybe I'm just totally out of the loop. Maybe things like, I don't know, 4-day working weeks or free education or something like that would be the first, you know, part of the first 3 or 4 things that you'd think of. But anyway, get your comments down below. This is Roger Roadside, just thinking off the top of his dome. Hope you're having a good day. Look how bloody miserable it is, but we move forward either way. I hope everyone's well. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. This is Roger Roadside saying goodbye. Goodbye!